Welcome back to the Tide Hero Hangar. This is Mike. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well today. I want to talk to you about the Masterpiece Collector's Guide 1986, the 1986 movie. Introduce some of these characters. We're going to be talking about the options that are out there for these. I've already done the 1984, the 1985. This is 1986, and we're moving into this great list over 2005, TFW 2005. Thanks, guys, for keeping that up. But let's get into each one of these and give you some recommendations. If you've been collecting for a long time, this trip down memory lane. If you're new, I hope it helps you. Coming up. All right, first up we have Rodimus. We're going to try to move fast, so please keep up. Just kidding. On the left is DX9 Carry. This is a Rodimus, the full-size Rodimus, but he's a bit on the stylized side. He's an all-in-one transformation, and so you can transform him into the Winnebago mode. I believe it goes all the way to Winnebago mode in this, and it's a cool looking one. It's built better than the Takara. On the right is the Takara. There's also a Hasbro release, which is the one that I have, which the lower shins are a different color, is the biggest difference, but there's some fragility to this fiddly transformation, but I still think Takara is the best looking Rodimus that's out there. If you're not going to transform it and you're just going to pose it on the shelf, it's going to look fine, it's going to get the job done. If you want to flip it back and forth, then you might just not. But those are the options. Let's move on. Alright, next we're going to get into Wgaron. On the left is the KFC Crash Hog. It's their take, and there's, I think, 8 different versions they have remolded and redone to different characters. You can get quite a Junkion setup. On the right is the DX9 Splinter. They also remolded this into their, they call it Salmore, and that's a Psykill. Still pretty cool overall. I don't believe I ever picked up the Splinter, but I did get the Psykill of the mold, so I have some access to both of these molds. I still prefer the KFC X-Transbots, KFC, Keith's Fantasy Club version the most. It looks fantastic. It looks amazing. Passed on at the first go around, but when they first came out, they were 80. Now they're putting them out for 120. Anyway, these are the two options. All right, moving into Ultra Magnus. On the left is the X-Transbots version, and I think it is phenomenal. I think it's better than the one that Takara put out. Takara is on the right. It is the official Masterpiece. And then there was a KO of that, the Toy House Factory, that got rid of the butt flap, and they improved a few things. Still overall the same aesthetic, but way cheaper. And I think I paid $150 for the Takara when it came out, but I recently paid $160, I think, well, something along those lines, for the X-Transbots one. Then the X-Transbots one originally came out at $200, and then when they reissued it, after the first one had some problems, I guess they fixed those problems, because mine didn't have the problems, and they lowered the price. So it's kind of cool. I recommend the X-Transbots, but we do have Fans Toys on the way. Since currently I recommend the X-Transbots, let's look at the Fans Toys Marsh. I have no idea when it's going to come out. I think they think it's going to come out sometime next year, but it's still, it looks good. Will it look a whole lot better? It's going to be a bot inside of armor, add-on armor, which I think is the way it should be done for this character. I'm definitely picking it up. I don't know if it's going to beat the X-Transbots overall, but I know it's going to present really well. But hey, X-Transbots is painted well, it looks well, it's presented well. It's going to be a tough battle right there, but those are the options for Ultramag. Now for Galvatron. On the left is the Fans Toys Sovereign. There's also the M. I have the M. I don't have the standard. I actually almost bought a really cheap standard version. When the M came out, somebody upgraded and was selling it. I was a little late. They're like, oh, I sold it an hour ago. But I would have liked to have had both for the color variations and to compare them and contrast them and stuff. But I still can't tell you which one I think is better. I like the color of the standard one, but I understand that the M is shinier, more metallic. But either way, you really can't go wrong. I think it is the better mold and bot mode. Now, DX9 is still good, and if you have it, it's fine. I had it for a long time. It's good enough that I turned down 2 runs of the Sovereign until finally, on the third, on the M, I finally bit on the M. But I will say that the alt mode's better. The alt mode on DX9 is better, or more accurate than the Fans Toys. But you can't go wrong with either one. I think they're reissuing, the DX9 is reissuing theirs, and it's called Tyrant. And Sovereign, I believe, is pretty much sold out everywhere. Alright, so for Metroplex, there is like toys that said they were making theirs. There's question to whether or not they just made the one 3D printed prototype and stopped. They were not going to 3D print that for everybody to order. They do 3D print upgrade kits, and I don't know where that's at. I haven't really checked on it lately, but there's no news on the Like Toys project, which is 4 foot tall. Now, most people use this one right here. This is the Titan class from Hasbro. It's a pretty good one, but there's one coming from Lewin Resources, and so they're all kind of stylized. None of them are super G1. The one from Lewin Resources, according to Shozy, which wants $100 down, which means that it might be $1,000 figure. That is, some people are guessing $750, some are guessing $1,000. I have no idea how much it's going to cost. What if it's $2,000? I don't know. I believe Lewin Resources will 100% deliver. Anyhow, it's due out 4th quarter of 2024. It is 47 inches, almost 47 and a quarter. You can see it's stylized. It's not exactly like the G1. I would have preferred G1. If it was G1, I probably would have figured out how to swing whatever the cost was. Because it's stylized, I'm apprehensive on this one. Still, it's something that's out there. If you're interested in true masterpiece, this is as close as it's going to get for now. Q4 2024. All right, getting into Trypticon. For those of you who are saying, Mike, why aren't you talking about Cyan Culture? Because that's Legend scale. That's not Masterpiece scale. So this isn't Masterpiece scale either. This is Hasbro's Titans. This is what people utilize in their Masterpiece collection because one doesn't exist. And it just might be a little too ridiculous, City Bots. I've made videos about that in the past. So getting this, it's good size. It's a great representation, but they're also remaking this in the Legend scale. Also, 2 different companies working on one, but this is what most people have. It's available now on the secondary market, like $300. If you want to get it, Trypticon, it's Titans Returns, Titan class. All right, next up is Blur on the list, and on the left is Fansway's Jabber bot mode. Oh, both modes. Actually, both modes are phenomenal. They're, in my opinion, the best of these 2 options. On the right is Unique Toys. Now, here is the thing. Unique Toys can be transformed in like 5 minutes. Jabber might take you half an hour and you might break something. There's 4 little fiddly areas that are easily breakable if you're not paying attention or doing it exactly right or going the right angle. So be careful with the transformation on Jabber. But Jabber wins aesthetically, but he's sold out and commanding like $300 on the secondary market. And Unique Toys is reissuing theirs. I don't know. I think it's like $80 for that. I actually might pick it up. I miss mine because of the easy transformation to have one on each mode. All right, next is Hot Rod. On the left is Hoodlum. On the right is, okay, Fansway's Hoodlum on the left. Right is Takara. I say that the Fansway's looks better in the bot mode. I never understood why it's almost like a squared off chest for the Takara. Why did Takara not nail this character? And they were nailing so many other ones until this one came out, in my opinion. And I think it's okay. I think the alt mode is better for Takara than the Fans Toys. And with the faux chest kind of stuff, when you actually get to the real hood, the way it's manufactured and packaged, the real hood gets damaged on the Fans Toys. For the actual alt mode, I never transformed mine. And this was 2018 when it came out. Prior to me trying to really do much with the channel in 2019, I didn't bother transforming my Transformers before 2019. So a lot of those they got the cherry untransformedness to them. But anyhow, I would recommend Fans Toys Hoodlum. Again, another one's pushing stupid money on the secondary market. Not sure why it hasn't been reissued yet, but I am kind of thinking it's because so many people had negative things to say when it came out that Fans Toys is like, well, I'm not going to reissue that then. Same thing with their RC. There's so many negatives that why would they want to put themselves up against that unless they fix it and resolve those issues. But anyhow, both okay options. I have both, but Fans Toys definitely the win. Next up is Cup, and on the left is Fans Toys Coot, which came out so much earlier than the X-Transbots. On the right is the X-Transbots, and it is their lock figure. The lock figure had a lot of QC issues to the point that they had to put a 2.0 out, and they remolded quite a bit of it that you know the difference between the two because of the differences, and I did a video on that. But you really couldn't a lot of people couldn't transform theirs. I couldn't transform my 1.0 for a review, and I got sent a 2.0 for free. which was nice. But I think the X Transbots looks the best in the bot mode. It is better looking, more accurate, but Fantasy Toys is solid. It's very solid. It's older, and they got the split in the chest, which people don't like. What would I recommend? It's a tough one, because I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them. 2.0, make sure you're getting the 2.0 of the X Transbots or the Fans Toys. Either one, they'd both be fine. But I think X Transbots wins in aesthetic. You know who wins in different is Toy World. They went their own route. I never understood why they were doing this, but they had several figures that they made that were a little different in this era, and Cup was one of them. And I thought it was some sort of based on comics or something like that. It's still a thing that's out there, and I want to throw it in, and I want to let people know it exists. I don't know if this is one that made the Zeta list to get redone. Not sure. Zeta redid a lot of the figures and just gave a metallic paint job or metallic look, but there's Toy World. Next up is Cyclonus. We have on the left Fantasy Toys Quietus, and I'm just going to put it out there. Clear winner. Clear winner. He is thinner, much thinner than the X Transbots on the right. And I've had the X Transbots since it came out, and I kind of wish I would have waited. I wish I would have waited for the more metallic one that they put out. Either way, though, it still has a shiny plastic. It's got a good sheen to it. It looks good. The purple looks nice on the X Transbots. He's got a beefy presence. And the fact that when you look at this whole idea of Cyclonus and his armada, it's okay to have multiple different versions of a Cyclonus. You can have the Fantasy Toys Quietus T, which you see here, the original release, which is more bluish, and this one. So I have all of them on the shelf, and I've got an orange one, which is the KO, which they say is a KO. It's just really the designers went on their own and made it. But with all of that, you can have him and his Armada. And I want to move fast through this, but I will say that Cyclonus is one of the G1 figures I did not like until I got the Masterpiece versions, and then I went back and bought Cyclonus, a cheap one, a vintage one, because I liked those representations of the character so much. I had to get a G1 one. All right, next up is Broadside, and the only one that I know of that's Broadside, I don't know if Fans Hobbies made one. I thought Fans Hobby either made one or is going to make one, but I guess that's something to look into. Fans Hobby is making these kinds of things, but this one is not really Masterpiece. It is a Fans project, and it's more like the Chug scale, more to fit with your mainline Hasbro, but from third party, it's the only one I really see out there. And there's also the Hasbro one. I'm not sure which one's bigger, which one's smaller. I don't see any comparisons to those, and I didn't buy the one. Next up is Scorge. The one in the middle is the Fans Toys. The outside two are both X Transbots. For the longest time, and I think 5 years or longer, that all we had was the X Transbots, and I thought it was fine. I thought it was okay. The feet were really hard to fold through. They had to fold through themselves and fold all the way through there. They made it easier on the second one. Now, the first one came out with more accurate coloring, and the second one on the right is more of a metallic coloring. Fans Toys wins. I'm not going to lie, Fans Toys wins. But if you're looking around for these, you might find the X Transbots ones significantly cheaper than the Fans Toys. Probably a quarter of the price. Some people be dumping these because they got the Fans Toys ones, and that's that. But overall, I don't think either one of them's bad. I never thought the X Transbots was bad. I just think the Fans Toys has that like 10% edge of presentation over it, and the feel and diecast, which the X Transbots really don't have diecast. There it is. There's your options for Scorge and the sweeps. Next up, Sandstorm Triple Changer. I kind of got a little out of order for a second there, but we're back on track. And looking at this, this is the Unique Toys Sorter, and it is up for pre-order again, Astro Z, and I guess other places too, but it's probably only gonna be like 60 or 70 bucks, I believe, and it's not a bad figure. Maybe 80 nowadays with all the inflation and stuff, but 80 bucks is still not bad for this figure. Is it the best figure ever in the whole world? No, it's not. Is it horrible? No, it's not. It's in the middle. It's in between. It's okay as a representation of an obscure character that most people really don't care about. Will we see a Fans Toys or an X Transbots? Probably not. Unique Toys. Next up is Springer, and I whip this picture out all the time. This is really an old picture, by the way. And it's sort of showing all the different options. There's 6 of them. The robot hero in the middle is also one that they called Transform and Play, something like that. And open and play. Open and play, yeah, that's what it is. No, there's open and play and Robot Hero. There's the same mold, I think. Anyhow, we have all these different options of this character, and I would suggest it is kind of between Fans Toys and X-Transpots. I personally like the X-Transpots more, but I feel like the shoulder pads, we need a clip-on to give them bigger shoulder pads. That's it. And if he got bigger shoulder pads, he'd be almost perfect. So if we can manufacture an add-on clip-on kit to clip on those shoulders and beef them up a little bit, I think he'd be right there. The Fans Toys I feel is a bit too bulky. It's good, but not great. I haven't gotten rid of mine when I got the X-Transpots, but X-Transpots is in my display. The Ocular Max MMC, the third from the right, is a really good one. People sing the praises, but I don't need 6 of this character, so I stopped buying any more. I'm happy with my X-Transpots, my Fans Toys, and you could justify having 3 different versions, though, because there are 3 different modes. Yeah, lots of options for Springer. Next, we get into the cassettes, and there's really 2 that I recommend. I recommend MMC or Fans Toys. Now, we're going to look at the MMC here. This is much bigger. They're full-size cassettes, and they don't have the paint and finish that you see on the Fans Toys, but they still look really good. So far, we've gotten the Steel Jaw, and then, of course, they had a Voltron repaint, and then they call that one Vivente or something. Vivente. Then there's the Eject and the Rewind, which they call Pitch and Motif, and they're good too. But again, not really high on the list for presentation. They've got kind of a flat look to them versus shiny, and the Fans Toys stuff is really shiny. So the Fans Toys ones, I think they do look better overall, and with that, they have a better sheen to them. But I like the size of the MMC more, and there is a little bit of gappiness in them being small. I don't really care that there's a little bit of gappiness here and there in these figures, but gotta look at the cassettes because they were made and they're pretty cool. Rat Bat is going to be hidden behind a Sound Blaster. You gotta buy another Sound Wave if you want a Rat Bat from the Fans Toys, and with that, that's the exact same thing Takara did. I don't see really a whole lot of difference between the Fans Toys and the Takara. Don't really know. I have the Takara. The Takara one is probably closer to the G1 the way the wings are, and I probably will like the Fans Toys one better. It's going to present better, have better paint. Of course, it's like 7 years older, but there's 2 options. You can get Takaras that exists. There's lots of KOs out there of that, cheaper, or you have to buy a whole figure to get the Fans Toys Robot Paradise. Next, we're going to get into Outback. The left one is Fans Toys Aussie. On the right one is Bad Cubes, whatever they called it. And I have to say that I did keep the Bad Cube one for the simple reason, the simple fact that I just didn't think we'd see an Outback from another company for a long time. And as soon as I got actually Final Victories Brawn, I got rid of my Brawn for the Bad Cube. And then I'm just more than happy with the Fans Toys ones. Fans Toys one look great. Heavy retail of Brawn for the Fans Toys. It looks good. Paint, just phenomenal. It's hard to believe some of these offshoot kind of characters are getting so much attention from Fans Toys. Really awesome. Next up, we have the Pipes character, which is basically the recolor of Huffer. On the left is Fans Toys, on the right is the X-Transpots, and there was, I think, a Bad Cube version, which I think Bad Cube version is probably okay too. The X-Transpots had like a tendency to lean backwards, like back heavy, but at the end of the day, Fans Toys is phenomenal, blows them all out of the water. They did a fantastic job of remolding it. It looks great in all modes, but there are options for X-Transpots and Bad Cube. Probably people selling them super cheap because the Fans Toys one is that good, but that's the options for Pipes. Another very obscure kind of repaint character. And again, Fans Toys didn't just repaint Huffer. They heavy remold retool. All right, next is Swerve. I'm going to just say that we got the Fans Toys Diverge, and I'm getting the name Tailgate and Swerve mixed up. because it doesn't make sense, because this is a truck, it should have a tailgate, and the sports car should be swerve. Anyway, this is swerve. The Fanstoys diversion in the middle is the one I recommend. On the left is the Bad Cube version. On the right is the iGear, which really wasn't quite masterpiece, but it was way bigger than vintage, so we took it as a masterpiece for a while. And then of course you've got G1 on the right there. So this, in my opinion, is one of the best representations of a comparison video or picture that you can have for this character. Fanstoys for the win. Bad Cube's still not bad. Alright, getting into Windcharger and Tailgate. I guess he rides you and tailgates you. He doesn't have a tailgate. Anyhow, I keep getting those confused, and people like to point it out, and they think it's funny. Some get irritated that I said it wrong, but whatever. In past videos, this is XTR Spots, and nobody else has accomplished this or gone after this. People are wondering, why has Fanstoys not done it? You have that rivalry with XTR Spots. You want to blow them out of the water. Why have you not done it yet? And that's a good question. I don't know why Fanstoys hasn't done it yet, but looking at it, they're not horrible, they're not great. There's lots of room for improvement on these characters, but it's all we got, so I got them. I think you can still pick them both up relatively cheap, because they've been reissued several times. Next up is Wheelie. On the left is XTR Spots, which in my opinion is a clear winner, but the one on the right is, they call it Survivalist. So if you look up Wheelie Survivalist, you'll find it. I don't like the wheel kneecaps. I think they're weird. I have both of these. I think that the Survivalist looks okay in the alt mode, but XTR Spots wins in both modes. When people bash the XTR Spots one, I've loved it since the day I got the version 1. A little bit loose in the legs and the hips. And then when the version 2, and I think there's a third, they came out with the version 2 reissued, but they said they've fixed stuff in it, so I count it as version 3. I have the version 3. The version 2 that had more fixes to it. Anyhow, if they ever do a reissue, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the best of the best of the best that's out there. And there's also different versions of that XTR Spots mold. They turned it into a GoBots Turbo, and the Realm of Collectors had their own. It's kind of their mascot, but they made a purple one, a clear one, a few other ones. Wish I could get my hands on those. So I'm going to move to Skylinks. I do not have a recommendation for a Masterpiece Goldbug. I don't have one. And with that, I just really can't recommend anything as of yet. Anyway, getting into MMC Skylinks, there are two different versions. This is the cartoon version. There's also the metallic. I would recommend the metallic if I were to pick one up. I don't have either one. I think they look great. Price is still like, even reissued was $300. I just didn't want to spend that at the time. And when it gets reissued again, probably. But I would like to get the metallic. I like the tune, and tune to a detriment that I am. Looking at both of them side by side in pictures, I want the metallic. So if they ever reissue the metallic, I'm getting on it. But this is big. People say it's nowhere near big enough to be Masterpiece scale. But I also feel like it's way too big for my display and my collection. So I'm in that conundrum. I'm trying to figure out where I'd put it. I think I have a couple places that would work. But anyhow, MMC, Mastermind Creations, their Skylinks, it's Inventa or something like that. And there's two different versions. They had two different that combine. But the reissue, I think, was all in one. Anyhow, MMC. Next up is Runabout and Runamuck. The only game in town is the XTR Spots. I think they did a phenomenal job. They're fantastic. They look great. The transformation, of course, is not the most funnest thing in the world. But you have to be careful not to break them. I think people have broke, I think the rear tail light or something they break on theirs. And when they're moving the leg down. But there's also putting out these with kind of a more metallic look to them. So that's coming too. And they're making reissues of them. Of course, they want to make as much as they can off the mold. I understand that entirely. So I probably will pick those up. To see the reissue ones, check out Sunday News. When it comes to a Masterpiece the entire community said, nah, yo, we're not going to make that. So this is a KO Oversize of the Studio Series. It's called, I'm not sure if I'm even saying it right. It's Ziomo. Alright, so this really is the only game in town, the KO Oversize of the Studio Series. They had them at Show Z for like $30, 25, 35, around that price range. The price fluctuated, but I got me a set. It's pretty good. They're better than the originals because they're bigger, but you can also get a G1. You can go G1 and they would be even bigger. All right, so it's getting to combiners, and it's funny because my kids, they called them combineders. They combined. That made sense. That's logical, actually. But anyway, it was always funny they said that. So, the Fans Toys one on the left might, at the end of this all, be the best in all modes. But Zeta is lighter weight. It's still real heavy, but it's lighter weight, and it looks good. It's been around for a while. I will probably have my Zeta in combined mode, Fans Toys in individual watt mode. I might not even combine mine. I'm debating that, but looking at it though, the paint, the finish, everything that Fans Toys does is top notch, and it probably will win in the end. But Zeta got theirs done in like 14 months, start to finish. We're at 5 years on the Fans Toys, and the Minosaur, I mean, that's coming up, but the Minosaur is still further out than the Superion. Which one would I say? I think you can get for $400, you can get a whole Zeta. $400 is literally just the last bot of the Fans Toys. Adding it all up, depending on if you started when it first started or if you're trying to buy them now, it's really expensive. $1,200, $1,500, $1,700, depending on where you started the Fans Toys. What do I recommend? Zeta for combined mode. Alright, next is Defensor. On the left is X-Transbots, the right is MMC. I think where we're at right now, we are going to see that X-Transbots is the win in aesthetic, in height, in weight, in paint. I mean, there's going to be a lot of things that X-Transbots wins. I'm in on the X-Transbots. This is not a character I want to have multiples of in combined mode for sure. And MMC is going to be good. It's all in one. I think it looks okay. This is kind of a representation of what it'll look like when it's done. But I'm in on the X-Transbots overall. But it will be significantly more expensive. Well, I don't know. I actually don't know, because we don't know what the hot shot, the big blue in the middle is going to be. So with that, there's two options, but X-Transbots is 21 inches, MMC 18. Where does your shelf require? 21 or 18? Depends. Next is Minosaur. This is a TF Source video they put together, and a picture, actually not a video, but they did put an article together about this. Not much really has changed since they did this 3 years ago. This is a 3-year-old video. Picture. Whatever. Now, on the left is X-Transbots. In the middle is DX9. And on the right is Fans Toys. And I gotta say, I have a slightly better DX9 picture I could plug in, and a slightly colored Fans Toys. Here's where I'm at. DX9 in the middle is the cheapest and easiest. X-Transbots is way over engineered for the main bot, for the trailer, to get it into combined mode. I never want to take it out of combined mode, ever, under any circumstance. And then I imagine Fans Toys will be about the same, but Fans Toys is going to have add-on parts. That last figure is going to be $400 to finish and complete that bot, so I'm not sure. I don't even know if we're going to get it this year, is it next year? I don't know when that's coming out. So my recommendation is, if you really want one of these, just get the all-in-one, every bot in a box set from DX9 and be done with it. That's the way I feel. Fans Toys will probably be the best in the end, and X-Transbots, once it's put together, looks great. So there's my opinion on all this. Next up is Bruticus, and on the left is Zeta, and currently I feel like Zeta is the winner, even though I don't think it's great. It's good. I got mine super cheap because somebody hated it. Somebody bought it, and they hated it, and they're like, oh, you can just have it for cheap. Like $200 or something. I mean, it was stupid cheap. Like, I maybe it was only $150. It was stupid cheap. It's a $400, and they sold it to me for like ridiculously cheap because they hated it. But I think it's okay. Will we get a better one eventually? Maybe. On the right's Jinbao KO Oversize of that. And there's a story about a video I have from another creator I'm going to work on one day, reuniting him with his video. But this was, I was not impressed. A lot of people loved it because it was the best thing at the time. Is KO Oversize the Warbitron. And then there's the MMC one, which is an all-in-one, and it looks okay, but it's really small. And with all of that, right now, if you wanted to get one, you had to have one right now, Zeta. If you wait 3-5 years, something else will come along. Lastly, we're going to get into Predaking. Predaking on the left, that is the Kang Toys, and it's very stylized, but it's beautiful. It's fantastic looking. It's impressive. It's big. It's massive. It comes in, I think, 8 purchases to make it, but very impressive, very amazing. I have a few of them, and I could not believe all the work they put into each figure, and then the feet themselves do things, transform and stuff. Really impressive. On the right, I gotta tell you, I'm a G1er. I mean, I get more feels out of the Titan class, and I don't even think it's but 18 inches, so yeah, it's not big enough really to be Masterpiece, but I like it. It's cool. I wish that someone made an upgrade kit. I think someone might have, but if you can upgrade that and make it 21 inches, I'd be fine. I would never need anything else. Here's the thing. I never had this Predaking or Predacons as a kid, and as an adult, I don't really care. They're in a low priority range for me, so if I could just get some sort of upgrade kit to make this thing 21 inches on the right, I'd be happy. But Kang Toys, I understand why they're going that route, because a lot of people didn't have this back in the day. To do it super stylized and just make it just over the top, it's really over the top, then that's what they did. And they're doing it with Dinobots too, and it's really mind-blowing what they got going on, but it's expensive. I'm down for some cheap with an upgrade. So let me know what you think about this list for 1986. I'm going to be doing a couple other videos before I do 87. This was a lot of work, and some of these figures I didn't have, so I kind of look into it and get an idea. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what I missed. Well, let me know what you would have done different when you talk about all these characters. Like and subscribe. Hit that like or dislike. Hey, give me 100 dislikes. Tight Ear Maker out.